Hey everyone, I am here to talk about the two Dramiones that I've last read in the month of July. The first one is Bring Him to His Knees by Musyc. This was an interesting one. I was drawn in because it is a mystery slash thriller type thing, and I'm a fan of those. Draco is an Auror, and he's Harry's partner in investigation. And when the fic starts, they are investigating an unaliving, and in fact, the third in a string of unalivings by a serial unaliver. One connecting detail is that each of the people is wearing a necklace with the logo of an adult club, a club that Draco has long time been a member of, but you can only attend this club as a couple. And since he's been single for a long time, he has no way into the club. So he decides to ask Hermione, well, at Harry's suggestion, decides to ask Hermione to pose as his girlfriend to go undercover. Hermione is Harry's roommate in his home that he shares with his wife, who is Pansy. Yes, Pansy Potter. I thought I would miss Ginny, but I kind of liked this change of pace, I have to be honest. Hermione has had feelings for Draco for years, intensified every time he joins them for dinner, and of course is oblivious that her feelings are returned. So Draco and Hermione embark on a fake relationship, selling it to the press, creating ground rules, both hoping to just have a little bit of each other and thinking that will be enough. What follows is a ton of misunderstandings, frustrating interruptions, and weighty sexual tension until they finally begin a physical relationship and admit that they've never been pretending. So while the writing is good in this one, and I have no critique about the fic or its structure, I will admit that this wasn't my favorite, but that is purely based on my own preferences when it comes to Dramione. Don't get me wrong, I finished it. I read the whole thing, and I did enjoy it. Hermione was just sort of missing her spark and cleverness. She was a little bit needy in this, a little bit sub. I do love a mystery thriller, as I said, and although this one was a tad predictable, it was an engaging story. So if you don't mind more of a sub Hermione, and if you are looking for primarily hot spice with a side of plot, this might be your girl. The next fic I read was A Year and a Day by AMLKoko. Oh my god. I feel like sometimes I read these Hermiones and I'm like, this is the best one I've ever read. There's so many good ones, but this is up there. I have seen a lot about this one for ages, and I finally read it, and it was worth it. The premise is that it's almost 2 decades past the Battle of Hogwarts, and Hermione is flailing. She was attending a graduate program, but she had posited a theory about materials holding on to magic and how that can affect and degrade spells. And she has a theory about the necessity to create a magically sterile environment. This was all very interesting to me. I really liked all her science in this one. But of course, threatened by her genius and also probably her womanness, her male pure-blood superior scoffs her out of the program and proceeds to blacklist her from every publication and university. And her head is now full of science and magical ideas that have nowhere to go. She begins to go a little bit dotty, to use a word that gets used in the fic, and she's working at Hogwarts as a part-time professor when the funding is cut and then she loses her job. So on her way home from her last day at Hogwarts, she spots Scorpius Malfoy at the station waiting to be picked up from his first complete year at Hogwarts. So he's 11, 12, I don't know, somewhere in there. So she sits with him and she chats with him, and eventually Narcissa shows up, and Narcissa's sort of considering Hermione, and something clicks into place. So it turns out Draco is in the midst of a contentious divorce from Astoria Greengrass, who has left him for an American Quidditch player. She is currently trying to finalize the divorce, but as she is going for full custody of Scorpius, which involves taking him to America to follow this Quidditch player, Draco is dragging his feet to finalize the divorce because he knows that with his own history, he's probably going to lose custody of his son. Narcissa hatches a plan for Draco to marry Hermione because she's a Golden Trio member and savior of the wizarding world. With that reputation, Draco has a chance to potentially win custody of his son, and Narcissa sees Hermione's desperation and sort of makes her an offer she can't refuse, which is an offer to build her a company and fund her research for a year and a day, which is the length of the marriage that she would like to take place. Of course, Hermione is reluctant, but she finally does accept, and her relationship with Draco is touchy and contentious at first. It has been almost 20 years, so, they're a little bit more mature, but it's still a little bit difficult for them to figure out how to connect with each other. But she does immediately bond with both Narcissa and Scorpius, especially Scorpius. Scorpius is intelligent and very interested in her work, and they just have this lovely dynamic. She begins to settle into her life as Mrs. Malfoy, accepting the awkwardness with Draco. until she sees how quick he is to come to her defense constantly and protect her. The slow burn begins as little by little they discover each other in a new way, until, as usual, it is only their idiocy that is holding them back. So the standout thing about this one is Scorpius. No question. I would lay down my life for that child. I sometimes cringe at the way children are written, but not him. He is a freaking delight. Also, Draco is stellar in this one. Back the F off my wife. Need I say more? I have never been a huge fan of that kind of male protectiveness, but it was so good in this. His utter respect and defense of Hermione throughout this was awesome. There was one choice that was made in this related to Narcissa, if you know, you know, that I wasn't a huge fan of, but I, in general, really loved her relationship with Draco and Hermione and Scorpius. It was a good Narcissa. Also, the epilogue of this one was so beautiful. It caught my heart off guard and blew it open, which inspired my tattoo that I will show you soon. So good. Think the series finale of 6 Feet Under. It was like the series finale of 6 Feet Under for a Dramione fanfic. So good. Anyway, I am in the middle of another Dramione already, so I'm going to get back to that. But I hope you enjoy these. If you've read them, let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Bye.